Good evening and welcome to Varsity Maine Live, presented by the Portland Press Herald. I am Travis Lazarzik from the Press Herald, and tonight I'm joined by my colleague, Press Herald Steve Craig, and from the Forecaster, Michael Hoffer. Our guest led South Portland's football team to the Class B South Championship game last fall. Currently, he's a key player on the defending Class AA boys basketball team at South Portland. They are right now ranked number 6 in the Varsity Maine poll and are 9-3. Please welcome Jalen Jackson. Jalen, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You were a Fitzpatrick Trophy semifinalist this season. The banquet was on Sunday. Just what can you tell us about that experience of going to the banquet and being around some of the other top players in the state this year?
It was a lot different than I was expecting because I didn't know that they put almost put like even the semifinalists, like the bottom 7 on a pedestal. I really thought it was more like the top 3 or like the main guys you're there for. And I was kind of surprised going in because they called us all out and we all got plaques. We all got called up separately. So it was really cool. And then to see the other 3, the top 3, Kennedy, Nick, and Eli, they had to give their speeches in really kind of, I don't know if I would have been able to do that, but it was cool to see for sure.
Yeah, I was saying to Don, our sports editor, earlier today, it was really nice to have that Fitzpatrick Awards dinner be back when it was supposed to be, because last year they got delayed 2 months. The year before they didn't have it at all, and I feel like the year before the pandemic it got delayed a couple of weeks because of like snowstorms and whatnot. But I don't know. It did feel, even to me, just an observer, it felt kind of special this year, and I'm glad you said you enjoyed it as well. Did you come away kind of feeling like this is really unique that Maine has this award?
Yeah, they put a lot into it, like the way that they vote and look at and really like go into depth. I mean, they're looking at grades and communities. Like I had to tell them community service time and all. Like they're really going in depth with the award. It's not just about football, so it's definitely cool to see kind of how professional it is.
Jalen, South Portland's kind of in the middle of a revival, a golden era of sports. Baseball won the state title a year and a half ago, first championship in almost 70 years. You, of course, were the point guard on a boys basketball team that ended a 3-decade drought last March, and football getting to the first regional final since 2000. What's it been like to be a part of that, and how much pride do you take in that? I know you haven't lived in South Portland your whole life, but I mean, how much does being a Red Riot mean to you, and leading those teams to those heights? What did that mean?
Yeah, I mean, coming in, I came to South Portland in 8th grade, and like looking like over our entire grade, you could kind of just tell that we have a lot of athletes, like just throughout the sports. Like we're pretty special. I'd say we're a pretty special grade that way. Like baseball, we have multiple guys that have started since their sophomore year. Basketball, we have 3 starting seniors. I played since freshman year. Our soccer team's always really good. And then football this year, we had a lot of seniors that were really good. So I think like our grade is a big part of that. And then the kids that have come up, especially for football, since Filio's gotten there, he's kind of groomed the program in general, kind of farm. And we've definitely started to improve. So I think a lot of it is our grade is helping to lead the way. And then the program's just improving in general with especially football with Filio coming in. So I take a lot of pride in trying to lead the younger guys into a era of kind of excellence and try to keep competing for these state titles. So getting closer every year, especially for football.
Right. Jen, let's talk about your basketball team for a minute. Like we said, you guys are 9-3, 12 games in, 6 to go in the regular season. What do you see as some of the keys down the stretch for you guys to have a strong finish to the regular season going into the playoffs?
We definitely still got some work to do. We're improving a lot, though. I think that to keep on that improvement, we're going to have to start improving mostly on the defensive end, rebound a lot better as a team. We're starting to mix defenses in and kind of give teams different looks. But offensively, I think even with our last loss to TA, we put up almost 70 points. we played really well. They just kind of outpaced us. Like you can't really get into a track meet with them because they'll outscore you. So I think that it's mostly on the defensive end for us. We just got to really lock in and rebound and get stops.
Yeah, kind of along that lines. I mean, last year you had the big eraser in JP back there. And the thing that kind of struck me when I saw that TA game on Tuesday was you guys weren't the bigger team this year. I mean, Gabe's got some decent size, but that's kind of where it stops, right? So is that talk a little bit about how you've, I mean, it's the night for the cats to show up. Excuse me. Every year, every team has to adapt to who's left and who's joined, but it's a pretty big difference this year, right? And what's that been like?
It's been tough. I mean, we lost JP. It's a big paint presence. He was changing every shot that people were taking. So even if they were going in, people were like putting up shots that they don't really work on because he's down there and he'll send it back in your face. And then just in general, we lost. So obviously we lost Owen as well. He's a 6'4", like he's length. He's got length. He's 6'4". He stayed in front. He was a really good defender. And then we also lost Nolan Hobbs, who decided not to play this year, and he was also 6'4". So we lost a lot of size. Right. When you look at us, our starters across the board, it's me and Joey are 5'11". Ben's like 6'1" and then it's Gabe who's 6'6", and then off the bench we have Manny who's like 5'7", and Nafis is 6'3", and Hef is 6'3". So it's just a lot different. We're a much more small ball team this year. We gotta really like actually check out, because before it was like, oh, like JP will just get it. So we got to check out and try to run the floor. We're a lot more athletic than most teams this year, which is a little bit different than last year, but it's a lot more like fundamental. Like we can't really just play it as pickup because you got a 7-footer in the paint. So it's been different to figure
But I
out.
mean, you guys are 9-3 and or whatever, and right in the hunt. And I mean, do you feel that, tweak a few things, you can be right back in that championship game this year?
Yeah, I think it's really anybody's ball this year, because like TA, they're good, but they lost to Portland, and we beat Portland in a exhibition. So I wouldn't really like count that, but and then Oxford Hills is lost to Lewiston. Like it's really kind of even across the board. Like last year it was pretty obvious that we were the best in the South and Oxford Hills was the best in the North, but I think this year it's definitely a lot different. So I'm kind of excited to see how things play out in the Civic Center. Like we might end up seeing Noble down there for the first time in who knows how long, because they're pretty good as well. So it's cool to see a different league for sure.
Yeah, that's been a fun side story. Yeah, Noble. That's great. That's great to see. I always love it when teams, kind of turn their programs around. Let's hope that continues. Sorry, I'm dominating the questions.
Jalen, you mentioned before we came on the air that you're going to be doing something different this spring athletically, and I wanted you to talk a little bit about that. And I know Coach Owens has a great baseball program there, and just talk a little bit about that and what, if any, your plans are beyond high school at this point.
Yeah, so I'm going to go out, and Nolan and Johnny, they both play football, so they convinced me to come out for baseball season this year. They're a little lackluster on outfielders, and obviously I'm pretty athletic, so they think I can just go out there and kind of run some balls down, hopefully figure out how to hit at some point during the season. But I'm just going to go out. I'm not going to have much to do in the spring anyways. I'm going to be working out for basketball because I plan on playing in college. So after school, I might as well go just play some baseball. I don't see why not. So we're going to do that. And then working on my recruitment process right now. So I just applied to all my schools, and we're going to see. I got to talk to some coaches and get my high school coach to call some people, but we'll see what happens.
Great. Well, Jalen, you have some big decisions coming up in that front. We appreciate you making the decision to join us here tonight. From South Portland High School, Jalen Jackson, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, great job, Jalen. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jalen.
Good luck.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
We will now move on to athletes of the week, and we were talking about the Fitzpatrick Trophy a few minutes ago with Jalen, so we will start with Eli Soren from Oxford Hills Football. The Viking senior quarterback won the 51st James J. Fitzpatrick Trophy, awarded the state's top senior high school football player. Soren was the first recipient from Class A since 2017, and he will play football at Colby College. Scarborough's Carolyn Hartley had 25 points in a 53-38 win over Sanford on Wednesday and 32 points in a 55-49 loss to Gorham on Monday. Michael, what can you tell us about Carolyn and Scarborough as we get down the stretch run of the regular season?
Well, they really struggled out of the gate. They were 2-6 at one point, and Coach Mike Giordano told me, he said, "We know we're not a 2-6 team. We need to just start winning games." And they had a big win over at South Portland last week, kind of got them going. And Hartley is really the reason. I mean, she's the engine that's driving this team. She's scored 25 points the other day. She had 32 points in another game. And for a team that always plays strong defense, Scarborough just needs to find a way to get to 50 points. And, if she's scoring 20 points a night, it's going to help. And I think they're a potential dark horse in a region where, clearly TA is the team to beat at 12-0. But, South Portland almost knocked them off the other night. You know how good Gorham is. Sanford's had their moments this year. I think we're going to see some surprises come the AA South tournament when it gets here. And Scarborough with their defense, I mean, that's something that travels. And that's something that's present every single night. And if they can just get some consistent scoring, I think they're going to be a dangerous team in the tournament.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Jason Reynolds set a Winslow boys basketball career scoring record when he finished with 27 points in a 63-52 win over Levitt. Reynolds eclipsed the previous mark of 1,170 points set by Mark McGinnis in 1993. So congratulations, Jason, for breaking a 30-year-old record. Courtney LaChance from Lewiston Girls Hockey, she scored 2 of the Blue Devils' goals in their rally from 2 goals down to beat Edward Little, Levitt, Poland 5-3 on Saturday. Landon Johnson reached a 1,000-point milestone by scoring 19 points, including 15 in the second half, as Old Orchard Beach pulled away for a 69-58 home win against Waynfleet in a Class C South boys basketball game Saturday afternoon. Jaden Pingree from Spruce Mountain Girls Basketball poured in 30 points to propel the Phoenix to a 24-point win over Halldale in a showdown of unbeaten teams. Edward Little's Campbell Cassidy scored a pair of goals to lift the Red Eddies boys hockey team to a 6-3 victory over rival Lewiston. Will Davies from Thornton Academy boys basketball, the 6'3" senior guard, controlled Tuesday's AA South showdown with defending state champion South Portland. Davies dished out 5 assists and led the break in the first quarter to get TA out to a quick lead. He finished with 26 points and a wide array of shots, 11 assists in the 82-61 win. Thornton improved to 10-1. Steve, does a big win like that over South Portland make Thornton Academy the team to beat in AA South?
Yes, absolutely. They've got more pieces right now than South Portland has, and I don't really think they're a third team like say Gorham or Bonnie Eagle has shown enough consistency to make us think right now that they could take down Thornton. Bonnie Eagle does have the kind of an X factor at 6'8" Elliot Bouchard, and they've gotten some decent games. They seem to be playing a little better just recently, but Davies was really special that night. I mean, right from the start, he really did control that game, and he can get to the rim and he can shoot it if he wants to. But what really impressed me was just his ability to pass the ball and get it to guys with open looks, and he did that all night long. It was fun to see. It really was.
Do you think Will Davies is the front runner for Mr. Maine basketball right now?
I always hesitate to say he's our front runner here in Southern Maine. Right? Let's put it that way. Like you just mentioned Reynolds at Winslow. I mean, I'm assuming he's a senior if he has that many points and he's scoring something like 30 a game. Landon Donovan from Old Orchard Beach. I mean, he's having another tremendous season. He came back as the leading scorer in the Western Maine Conference. It would be pretty unique, though, if Will Davies wins, because his father, who played at Old Orchard Beach, won in 1994.
That would be certainly an interesting combination. Thank you, Steve. Morgan Fickthorn's 23 points sparked the Winthrop girls basketball team to a 48-45 win over Trape on Friday. Aiden Jefferson from Buckfield boys basketball, he put up 34 points against Boothday, 24 against Madison, and then 24 against Halldale. Last week, Gardner senior girls basketball player Lizzie Gruber recorded her 1,000th career rebound in a 61-55 win over Nokomis. Then she scored her 1,000th career point 4 days later in a 53-35 win over Mount Ararat. We talked about how tight the boys' Mr. Basketball title might be. I think Lizzie Gruber is the front runner for the Miss Maine basketball for sure, fellas.
Yeah, I think you're right, Travis. I had a chance to see her. They played Chevrolet at the holiday tournament here last week, and while Chevrolet might have had a little bit more on balance and won that game, which both teams did play pretty straight up, which was nice to see. I mean, you could certainly see why Lizzie Gruber is so dominant, and her stats certainly show. A lot of people can score 1,000 points, and I'm not saying it's easy, but a lot of people do that. But to do both is really remarkable.
And I think she's pushing 350 blocks for her career too, which is another incredible stat. So
it was fun to see. I think it was Drew Bonifant, our coworker at the Press Herald, who put something out like, when was the last time somebody had 1,000 rebounds before they had 1,000 points? And it was kind of fun to see that some of the names that came up. And so Lizzie's in pretty great company, because Mackenzie Holmes now starring at Indiana, and who knows, probably going to be first team All-American, maybe more. And Tiana Jo Carter, who was great at Lake Region and had a really strong career at Albany, were a couple of names that popped up, as well as some other folks I'm not as familiar with. But that was kind of a fun stat.
It's kind of neat to take a little trip back into history. So.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, Charlie Houghton from Dirigo boys basketball. He scored 17 points in a home win over Carraback. Then 6 days later, he had 22 to help the Cougars earn a road win at Carraback, despite trailing by 13 points in the fourth quarter. So congratulations to all of this week's Athletes of the Week. We have polls that writers from across the Varsity Maine family at the Press Herald, the Sun Journal, the Forecaster, the Central Maine newspapers all take part in. You can find these on varsitymaine.com. And we'll look at the girls hockey this week first, boys. Number one, the Chevrolet co-op team with 6 first-place votes. Number 2, Yarmouth Freeport. They pick up the other first-place vote, followed by number 3, Penobscot, number 4, Brunswick, and number 5, there's a tie between Lewiston and the Winslow co-op. Michael, the Chevrolet team was kind of rolling along, and then they kind of hit a speed bump when they lost to that Penobscot team that's really turning some heads to the north.
Yeah, I mean, Penobscot scored 4 goals in the third period, kind of turned that game around. And honestly, I think it's the best thing that could have happened to Chevrolet. And, Chevrolet's coach, Scott Russo, even mentioned, they've got several girls on that team that also played field hockey. And, let's not forget, that team ran roughshod over everyone all season, all regional tournament. They suddenly found themselves in a close game in the state game, and they lost it. So the fact that Chevrolet had a mid-season loss, I think, is a great opportunity for their coach to be able to say, all right, let's regroup. It's a good experience. Anyone can beat you on a given night. We don't care about losing a game in January. We want to win in mid-February, and they certainly have the pieces to do that.
Okay. Hey, can I ask a question? Who is Penobscot? What is Penobscot?
It's
Travis.
It's Brewer and Bangor and Hamden and Herman and about 5 other schools in the greater Bangor area. I think Brewer is the core school for the team. They're the Penobscot Pioneers, I believe they're going by.
That's correct.
I like it that they just instead of having that,
they're making some noise.
It's easy to write.
Having the 6 or 7 co-op schools all listed that take up more space than we write about the roundup. See, they're going to get more ink about the actual game.
Very savvy.
Yeah, exactly.
Call him
that Dave Utterback. He knows what he's doing.
For the boys hockey poll, guys, number 1, Thornton Academy with 5 first-place votes, followed by number 2, Brunswick with 2 first-place votes, followed by number 3, Falmouth, who has been probably the hottest team in the state the last couple of weeks, number 4, Edward Little, and number 5, Messalonski, going kind of under the radar, undefeated in Class B North. So we'll see how they continue to do. Boys basketball, we have kind of an odd thing with number 1, Oxford Hills, with 2 first-place votes. Number 2 is Brewer, but they picked up 5 first-place votes, but they're 1 point behind Oxford Hills in the tabulation. Number 3 is Thornton Academy. Number 4 is Portland, and number 5, Lewiston, picking up a first-place vote. Steve, Oxford Hills and Lewiston, we talked about Class AA South. Oxford Hills, Lewiston, and Portland in the north look like that should be an interesting race down the stretch.
Right, and I think right now you got to add Chevrolet in there too.
Yes,
Silvano Ismail is just like he's just tearing it up. had 26 points last night, I think it was, and he was averaging about 24 a game before that. The Stags guard, and they're 8-3. So, yeah, AA North in terms of depth, strength, they're the better half of the AA leagues this year.
It's weird not having Edward Little in that mix for a change.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. But Lewiston has kind of replaced them.
Yeah.
Right. From the LA area, and Lewiston. Who did they just beat? They just had a great win against somebody, didn't they? Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I thought maybe that was last week.
Yeah, they
I bring out my notes, and I apparently don't know what I'm talking about. But
Okay.
Actually, they didn't play anybody last week. They
a lot of teams off for finals and stuff. So
yeah.
And,
they had beaten Oxford Hills the previous.
That was their signature win.
Right.
Sorry.
And it's a good win to get for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Girls basketball.
Yeah, and I think Oxford. I'm just going to throw this out here. I like Oxford Hills, but they don't have a lot of depth based on the game I saw them at the Expo against Portland. So they were able to win against Portland after Tegan Pelletier fouled out when they played up there in South Paris or wherever it is. But that could be their Achilles heel, that they, especially if they get into a somewhat of a running gun game. Well, I don't know. Of course, they claim that they don't get tired. So isn't that what Tanner Bickford told us, Michael?
We'll see about that.
Yeah, but they only seem to go about really 6 deep. So foul trouble could be an issue for him at some point.
Okay. Finally, we have the girls basketball poll. Number 1, Bangor with 7 first-place votes. Number 2, Oxford Hills with a first-place vote, 5 by Thornton Academy. Number 4, Chevers. And number 5, Oceanside. Michael Hoffer, we're going to be talking about some of the big games coming up, but a few of them are in girls basketball, particularly Class AA.
Yeah, it's great that a lot of these top. I mean, clearly the AA North has 3 teams that are atop the rest, and Bangor had that big win over Chevers on opening night. Chevers hasn't lost since. Oxford Hills hasn't lost at all. Those teams square off Saturday at Oxford Hills. I'm really looking forward to that one because they played 3 great games last year, 2 thrillers in the regular season, and then Chevers knocked off Oxford Hills in the regional final. So it'll really be interesting to see where those teams stand. And then Oxford Hills plays Bangor twice. And then Oxford Hills comes down here and plays Chevers a second time. Chevers and Bangor don't meet twice. They would only meet again in the tournament. So Chevers is still going strong behind Maddie Fitzpatrick and Emma Lazat, but they have a lot of other pieces to fill after graduation really took a lot off of last year's team. But, they're really rounding into form. And I think when all is said and done, they're going to be the team everyone's chasing again.
Okay. A game I'm looking forward to this weekend, guys, is in boys hockey. It's Brunswick versus Thornton Academy. You have number 1 and 2 in our Varsity Maine poll. Yeah. Brunswick defending Class B state champion, number 1 right now in Class B South. Thornton Academy, last year's state Class A runner-up, and number 1 in the Class A heel points right now. Think that should be a real good midseason game. Steve, anything that you're looking forward to coming up in the next few days?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to next Wednesday. This game got delayed. Falmouth is at Westbrook in a Class A South game. Both teams have 2 losses, and Westbrook's 2 losses are to AA teams, and one of Falmouth's losses is to AA South Portland. And in the league as a whole, it feels as if right now we just don't really know who the best team is. I kind of thought it would be Falmouth. I think the coaches thought it would be Falmouth, but by a narrower margin this year. That in terms of that was the preseason prediction. But now Falmouth lost to Marshwood about a week ago. Marshwood just lost to Westbrook last night. Westbrook will play Falmouth twice and Marshwood once more. So, and Westbrook is kind of a fun story. They have a current group similar to what Jalen Jackson was talking about with South Portland that has sort of come together. They had a nice run in baseball that was unexpected. While they didn't win a lot of games in football, they were more competitive. And now they've got this nice run going in basketball for Coach Brian Hoy. And, Colvin Dunphy and I believe it's Kelson Custodio, 2 guards that are strong, big senior kids. I mean, they're like young men, right? And they like to play inside, and they've got some size to go with those guys. They're kind of a throwback team. I kind of like them the one time I saw them. So I'll be interested. And certainly if they can knock off Falmouth, that's a big that's a big thing for them because Falmouth's ruled the roost there in A South the last couple of years, and has a lot of good talent as well.
All right, thanks, Steve. That's going to do it this week for us on Varsity Maine Live. I'd like to remind you to check out varsitymaine.com for the absolute best coverage in high school sports in the state of Maine. For Michael, for Steve, for Jalen, for the cats that walk through, I'm Travis. Thanks for joining us on Varsity Maine Live. Thank you, Don.
That's great.